Alright, thanks for your patience, everybody. We're ready for some TMNT arcade. I'll get Junkyard Dave here with me in a moment, who will be commenting this run by Pikachu, or just Pikachu. Just Pikachu's easier. One second, guys. Just having a bit of audio difficulty. Will be right here in a second.
Yo, what's up, guys?
Hey all. Junkyard Dave will be commentating this TMNT run, as I was saying. Dave, I'll let you handle the show from here.
Cool, sounds good. So how are we gonna count Pika down? Or is it just me that counts down, or?
Give an audio cue for me for the timer, and we can just ping him in the runner whenever you're ready to. When your outro is done.
Okay, so just go 3, 2, 1, go, or?
For me, yeah, but just tell Pika to start when he's ready, when you want him to start.
Okay, we can probably get him queued up. I can explain stuff as we go along, for sure. No sense in waiting or anything like that.
No problem.
Okay, so I think we'll probably just count down Pika in the chat there.
Just tell him to start whenever, because I'll be controlling this chat. Just
Sure.
tell me when to press time, because I don't run this game.
When it's really easy on control.
On control, okay.
Yeah, so right when you see like the black screen fade in and the turtles start moving.
Perfect.
And then time is on non-control. So
like turtles in time, got it.
yeah, it's pretty straightforward. And hello chat, I see you. Okay. Alright, cool. I think he's ready to go.
Yep.
So how's chat doing?
I see Serial, I see Dark Alexander, I've seen Skunky, I see a lot of turtle people. I also see Junkyard Dave.
Yeah, Turtles 2 actually has a really good community. It's always been a really weird one because it's a small one, but it's a really good one. Hardest part is starting the run.
So for those of you guys who don't know, Pikachu is from Ukraine, so his English is not the best, so he asked us to do some English commentary, so thanks Dave for being here.
Yeah, no problem. Definitely don't mind helping out Pika for sure. Okay, so this is Turtles 2. Right off the bat, it's the American version, and there's actually a really big difference between the American version and the Japanese version. So I don't know if it's true. This is actually kind of interesting. So in the Japanese version, you can actually change your direction. You can also change the direction of your dive kick. There's less foot soldiers, and on top of that too, the foot soldiers that do exist, they technically don't have less health, but they take less damage, or sorry, more damage. So like right there, you saw Pika dive kick that foot soldier. In the Japanese version, 1 dive kick would have killed him, but 2 dive kicks kill him in the North American version. There are so many good mechanics that they removed from the Japanese version to the North American version. Why? We don't know. But I actually heard there's a runner, and his name is Frank, and I think he was telling me at the time that in Japan, rentals were actually legal. It's like Blockbuster and stuff like that. You couldn't rent games in Japan. Not back then. I don't know if you can do that now. But when they brought it over to America, they made it harder to obviously like capitalize on that sweet capitalism money. So whether that's true or not, I don't know. Could be. But Pika is using Raphael. pretty much every person that runs this game uses Raphael. Why? Clearly because Raphael is the best. But actually, there's a weird glitch, maybe, with Raphael. He's got a 4-pixel window that's slightly larger in terms of his hitbox. And that's probably unintentional because the other 3 turtles are exactly the same. So Raphael can hit a little bit longer than everybody. And that actually matters in the first boss. So with Rocksteady in particular, in the good old days, like when Baze and I used to run it, Rocksteady is actually a pixel perfect kill. But if you use Raphael, it becomes literally free. It becomes literally one of the easiest boss fights. So this is technically about a 4 or 5 pixel window now. He should get stun locked. It's one of the couple enemies, the bosses that can get stun locked in this game, and he did it. So this is really easy with Raphael. Used to be a lot harder, but goodbye Rocksteady, you suck. So the Japanese version is a little bit quicker. Pikapikapikachuuuu has the record in the US version with a 30:55. He actually beat it recently. Frank had a 31:19, and Frank's record was pretty strong. It was uncontested for basically like over a year, I think, at that point. And West Point Steve kind of came close. He had like a 31:26, I think. But Pika took the record and he just crushed it. Yeah, dying on turtle soup. But yeah, Pika literally crushed it, and it's a very strong record. Like Frank's record to begin with was very strong. So in the North American version, the really kind of like tricky part is you're really limited to slash. Like there's not really any situation that you want to use your dive kick because it's weaker than the slash attack. And there's not really any situation that you want to use like your normal attack because it's weaker than the slash attack. So you're basically slashing the entire time. This stage in particular is probably one of the easier ones. There's a lot of walking, and there's a lot of kind of like foot soldiers that are like in set spawns. Like here, like there'll be 3, and you come down here, there'll be 3, and so forth. Bebop is at the end of this stage. He's another boss that can be stun locked completely. Not all bosses in this can be stun locked, but the first 2 can. Yeah, that's very true, Auranium. There is a bit of irony there. The US version has a Japanese record holder, or had a Japanese record holder with Frank, and the Japanese version had a US record holder. So I always found that kind of ironic. I thought that was actually pretty funny. So the US version is actually harder in the sense that there's actually more foot soldiers and they have more health. The big difference, I would say, is in some of the foot soldiers, like the dynamite throwers, like the bomb throwers. They're a little bit harder to get rid of in the US version. You can just dive kick them and it'd be pretty free in the Japanese version. So again, this is actually a pretty friendly window to stun lock completely this guy. Ironically, Pika's using my old setup, so that makes me happy. That was my old strat a long time ago when I held the record in this. Oh, so long ago. At least in the Japanese version. So we move into the sewers. This is again a pretty straightforward level. There's not a lot of shenanigans for the most part. The foot soldier spawns in this particular sewer I think are actually pretty friendly. There's kind of like a group of white foot soldiers that are sometimes a little bit tricky. But other than that, they basically like stay left and right. And everything about this game that's been discovered, there's been so many people that have come specifically after I ran it, or even before, with like Baze and other people like that. And everybody has figured out so much about this game. But there's one mystery that remains, and it's in this stage for sure. And at the end of the stage, there's a boss fight with Baxter. It's his like alien whatever fly form. Sometimes when Baxter floats around, he'll just slap. And there's been times in like old records way back when where Baxter will stop literally for like 8 or 10 seconds and he just stands still. Like you can completely just kill him. And there's no way that anybody has ever figured out how to manipulate that. So if somebody could figure that out, that would be great. Easily it would be a huge time save on Baxter. You kind of have to like dance around him in a figure 8 otherwise, but nobody's figured that out. So these little dudes are mousers. Hey, what's up, Damien? And they're in the boss fight towards the end. They usually don't bite you. They can bite you, and they can waste a little bit of time in the boss fight, but for the most part, the boss fight is usually pretty straightforward, and they don't really get that chance. So moving into the boss, Pico will kind of like hang out in the right corner. He'll slash him probably 3 times. He'll slash him 3 times again, and then he'll start following back straight away. The really weird part in this game is like you hear that like tink sound. A mouser got him. We spoke too soon. You hear that tink sound. There's actually no invincibility frames on anything that's considered a robot, but unfortunately there's kind of like a cooldown on your attack. But you can kind of see that on those roadkill Rodneys, the guys that like float around. You can kind of like trap them in the corner and immediately kill them. So everything else has a lot of invincibility frames in this game, but for some reason if you're a machine that doesn't exist. So we enter the snowfields. This is the stage of Tora. We learned recently that Tora is actually partially on a global timer. Skunky had like some kind of like crazy metronome setup that allowed for a boss kill that was probably illegal on speedrun.com. But he had a very cool boss kill using a metronome that he was able to manipulate. That's probably not RTA. You can't really tell what pattern you're gonna get when you get to Tora. And this in particular is one of the biggest sources of RNG in this run. These snowmen can spawn left to right like that. You really want them to spawn. That was actually okay, because there's gonna be a spawn. But you really want them to spawn like together on the same side. When you're actually on like world record paces and stuff like this is probably like the first reset point. If you don't literally get good snowman, there's probably no point in continuing a run, because you can lose like probably 7 seconds or more on that section. And there's 2 snowman spawns in this entire stage, so it adds up very quickly. The worst boss. Yeah, you didn't like Baxter. He could be pretty annoying for sure. Okay, so leading into Tora actually has kind of like a weird, varied history. For the longest time, there was a dive kick kill that was very straightforward. You just like alternated dive kicks back and forth, and you stun lock them that way. It eventually got weeded out. Frank had a really good kill, and specifically the North American version, and Pika had some pretty good snowman RNG there. But Frank had a pretty good Tora kill in the North American version. And it's funny that he got hit by rocks there. I swear, the entire time that I've run this, I've never been hit by a rock. And everybody complains they get like smashed by those rocks. So I don't know what I'm doing differently, and I don't know what everybody else is doing differently. So we'll see what kill. Okay, he is gonna do the corner kill. So this is Frank's kill. It's a variation. Actually, Frank had multiple variations. But basically, this is worth doing specifically on the North American version. So you trade a couple of hits like that, and then you walk him to the corner, and then you go up and down like that, and you alternate. And why this is better is because the dive kick in the North American version is actually slower than the Japanese version. So dive kicking Tora, going back and forth and waiting to kill him is actually slower than the Japanese version, where if you use the dive kick in the Japanese version, you're doing more damage, it's actually faster. So that's probably, I think, about 1.5 seconds faster than the North American version to kill him with your special slashes, which is not really possible in the Japanese version. The special slash does do more in the Japanese version, but the dive kick is just way faster. So moving into like this parking lot stage, this is one of the weirdest, I think, stages in the entire game. A lot of people gold split on this stage, like a lot. I don't really know why. It's just like this really inconsistent stage where it's really not a hard stage, but I guess like a lot of stuff can happen in terms of like the foot soldiers and how they spawn and stuff. One thing to note is there's like cars that drive out at you, and there's like 3 guys that run out. There's 3 red foot soldiers. I made a strat a long time ago that you can kill all 3, and nobody's done that yet. So I will call out people. Maybe one day we'll do it. But yeah, no, it's actually a really stupid strat that probably saves like not even 0.3 of a second. But this stage is actually pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of stuff to really talk about. The red foot soldiers have a bigger spawn in this stage. They're kind of annoying to deal with, but you'll see the Pika kind of like stays horizontal from them in kind of like a diagonal way, and that allows him to not get shot by their bullets. And Baxter is probably, this form anyway, one of the easiest bosses, both casually and in the speedrun. He's another boss. He has a bunch of invincibility frames, so he can't be completely stun locked like Bebop and Rocksteady, but he can be stun locked. So you'll see him trap him in the right side corner when he gets there, and kind of using that opportunity. I guess next is the highway, so we can talk about the highway next. But yeah, so Baxter coming up is probably again one of the easiest bosses in the entire game. You will hit him twice, and then he will just loop him over and over. So as long as Pika, I was gonna say, as long as you don't slash too early, you won't get traded there. Okay, everything is fine. But yeah, this is one of the easiest boss kills to set up. This is one of the easiest boss kills to do. So it's a pretty straightforward boss kill. And funny enough, like, if you go back, I think there's like a run that's 11 years old or something on speedrun.com, and it's got like some crazy setup for Baxter, and it just got completely weeded out obviously over time. So the highway, I think, is actually probably maybe the second most inconsistent stage, especially on the Japanese and North American version. You have a lot of weird foot soldier spawns. There's a lot of guys that have like distance attacks, like these javelin dudes right here. They can hit you really easy. You have a set of roadkill Rodneys again, which are tremendously notorious at wasting time sometimes. You also have, in the Japanese version, a really easy dive kick, as I was saying, to get rid of like the bomb guys. There's bomb dudes on this stage in particular, and it's really rough for the North American version because if you jump and you dive kick, you won't kill them in a hit. So you have to like walk them over in such a certain way, but they're actually programmed to stay away from you. So that, like, you can see like this guy, he's walking backwards. So you have like these dynamite throwers, and you also have like these bomb dudes. You can literally see it's a little bit more annoying because you can just jump and dive kick and immediately kill these guys on the Japanese version. But the North American version, you're constantly like walking with them, and they're walking away from you. So it's kind of like this weird mixture of unpopular foot soldier spawns. There's not a lot of good ones in there, especially these guys. The bomb, in theory, does, I think, the most or second most damage in the entire game. It's possible that if you get hit by one, you lose like an entire pellet of health up there. I think it does like 5 or 8 damage or something like that. I think the second most highest is 5 damage. So the bomb does a tremendous amount of damage. So at the end of this section, there's a huge waste of time. It's another huge source of time lost, and it's a helicopter. There's a section with 4 helicopters. The helicopters have slight RNG. They can come in fast, or they can come in slow. It's entirely 50-50 what pattern that you'll get. In the Japanese version, you actually have to like manually control your slash based on the pattern that you get. The jump height for the special attack in the North American version is basically fixed, so you don't have to worry about that. You have to delay it slightly on, I can't remember if it's the fast or the slow pattern, but one of the patterns you have to attack fast, so you push like A and B as fast as possible, and then one of the patterns you have to actually attack slow, otherwise you'll whiff, and you'll get bombed. So you jump and you push A and then B, kind of like a delay, so you just slash higher in the air. So Pika will immediately go up through the corner. That was a slow pattern. You can tell by the helicopter obviously coming in slow. So there's 2 helicopters, and then some foot soldiers will spawn. You got another slow pattern. So I think the slow ones are a little bit easier to deal with than the fast ones. The fast ones are kind of berserk. They fly like really, really, really quickly. But just in general, pretty good actually section. This is one of the harder sections. It's really, really easy to lose time here. So slow again. Can we get all slow helicopters? That's actually pretty silly. Slow! Wow, it's a slow helicopter day. All 4 were slow. That's funny. Usually it's pretty 50-50. But I guess every pilot just had a lazy day today. That's okay. That's actually funny. Ideally, that's what you would want in a run. Because you do waste a little bit of time on the fast patterns because you have to chase them a little bit. So, goodbye Splinter. He's being kidnapped by some kind of mousers or something like that. It's worth noting that Skunky recently took the record in the Japanese version, and I'm pretty sure he got shocked in this section. There's like this section coming up where there's like electrical rays or something like that. Pikachu, they're pretty easy to avoid. Like these lasers are pretty easy to avoid. Pikachu in his record, I think got shocked 5 times, all within a span of like a second. So to an untrained eye, it maybe looks like that's like some kind of like secret strat or something like that. I don't know how Pika managed to do that, but I think it's hilarious. It actually really makes me laugh that was in the record run. He just literally got shocked over and over and over again. So we'll see if he decides to get shocked here. But yeah, oh, he did it! So at least once. But yeah. This section is actually probably like one of the more annoying ones because you have like distance enemies enclosed within lasers, so it's kind of tricky to deal with. But so Pika decided to get shocked once. All right, one time we can do it. That's a lot better than 5, I suppose. So moving on, there's another big source of RNG. Well, not RNG, I should say time loss. There's drones, and they come up in like the same kind of rocket or whatever ship that Rocksteady was in the first stage. They have been very meticulously like plotted out and killed in such a way that Vintage Classic Gamer I think has probably the fastest drone strat, and then West Point Steve also had a really good drone strat. So we'll see what Pika does, but it should be possible to kill them basically in like 3 or 4 slashes. But if the drones fly around, it's another pretty big source of time loss. It's kind of a common theme because like the snowmen are unique enemies, the drones are unique enemies, and later on in the next stage actually we have scorpions and tigers, and they're also huge sources of time loss. It's like basically all the unique enemies. Same with the roadkill Rodneys. So you can see Pika, pretty decent strat there. He kind of had a good backup. I don't think he intentionally. Okay, maybe he is intentionally taking a hit. That's actually a pretty smart strat. I like that. I haven't seen that drone strat before. There's a different way that you can do the American drones compared to the Japanese drones. But that's actually a really cool strat. I do like that one. Yeah, Gilman, he's a really good runner of this one too. He ran the Japanese version. So coming up, we have Granitor. So if you have perfect rhythm, you can jump, you can dive kick him and jump again, or dodge I guess in that case, and then you can start neutral jumping. So I guess Pika's just gonna opt to slash him. It breaks out to about even. It depends on your rhythm. So Granitor is like programmed to hit you every 4 to 5 times depending on the pattern and depending on your own slashes and how you're attacking him in terms of countering. So there's 2 ways of doing that. You can literally just spam in the corner like Pika is doing, and as long as you're getting in about 4 hits or 5 hits every single cycle, it's just as fast. There's another strat where you can like get up close to Granitor and you can neutral jump over and over and over again. Both break about even. It's slightly faster to neutral jump, but at the same time, like if you get hit at all, then it's pretty slow. Okay, so we have the worst stage in the entire game, the worst boss in the entire game, and the worst enemies in the entire game. Literally, in terms of the speedrun, this is the worst game, or the worst stage literally in the entire run. So we have Shogun. To even start breaking it down now, we have Scorpions. The Scorpions are probably the biggest source of RNG. They're technically one of the hardest enemies to kill. And just on a quick side note, if you watch PK kill these guys, he'll walk diagonal and down. That actually gets rid of like their jump perk animation. Usually these guys have like this gigantic, humongous jump. But if you slash them and walk a little bit down, they'll try to follow you and it cancels out that jump animation. I believe that was found by Frank. It was actually a really smart find. But going later on into the stage, we have tigers. I have one tiger strat that I'm assuming Pika will go for. It was my old strat on the second tiger. The tigers are a tremendous source of time loss. They can get knocked off screen or they can run away really, really quickly. And every single time they're off screen, they waste like 4 or 5 seconds because they're invincible and you can't kill them. You just have to wait. So the tigers themselves are annoying. The really big annoying enemy though is the scorpions. So the scorpions literally have like probably a 1 in 60 chance to have like a god pattern, and that's where all the scorpions spawn on like the right side. It rarely happens. They have like basically full screen attacks. They counter you as soon as you jump. They have a very easy way to like recoil you with multiple attacks, and if they give you a bad pattern, like they'll spawn left and right. It's really hard to deal with them. So they're coming up after the tigers. So the tiger section is right here. So Pika should slash the tiger first of all, and then walk with it or dive kick. Okay, he's gonna do the safe version. Now he'll slash here. Yeah, okay. So he'll just slash it to that. Oh, he knocked it off screen. But this is actually a pretty good recovery. So the other strat, he might slash the tiger behind him and then turn around. This was the old strat that I figured out. So that's actually pretty close to pixel perfect, but the turnaround is pretty easy. So you can just literally slash the tiger over and over and over again. That's the fastest way to kill that second tiger. So we have the scorpions here. Worst enemy in the entire game. Bad spawns immediately, of course, for Pika. Left side scorpions are not what you want to see. You want them all on the right side. Although this is actually a good pattern, because if they're gonna, okay, look at that, excellent, bad to best. If they're all gonna spawn, literally, you want them to spawn like that. So Shogun, to start explaining Shogun, like Shogun is the worst because in the speedrun, at this point, you're probably like 20 or 22 minutes in, you have a chance that Shogun will lose his head. So every 4.24, 4.26 seconds, Shogun's head is programmed to fly off. This is unavoidable. So if you just stand still, Shogun will immediately lose his head every 4 seconds. There's a global timer, and once a specific value is hit on that global timer, it tells the game, okay, Shogun, lose your head. So there's 2 ways that Shogun can keep his head on. The first is if he's swinging his weapon, and the second is if he is in the middle of being hit. If he's in the middle of being hit and the global timer rolls over, his head won't fly off. And if he's in the middle of swinging his weapon and the global timer rolls over, his head won't fly off. So there's 2 quick kills, actually both that Baze and I figured out and I figured out. Pika is a madman, he's going for the hard one. This is a 2 pixel setup. I applaud you, Pika. Every single one of those slashes is either frame perfect or 2 frames. So at this point it's probably hard to recover, so he just has to kill Shogun as fast as possible. But just the fact that Pika went for that, that's the harder of the 2 quick kills. So excellent job, Pika. Everything, yeah, like that's what I mean, even 6 slashes. The other is you damage boost in the corner and you alternate 2 hits, I guess 3 hits at a time. But just the fact that Pika did that, like every single slash there is probably a 2 frame window. So it's an incredibly tight quick kill. That old quick kill came from Baze and I, and it was partially discovered by Scavenger a long time ago. He had a Shogun fight where he was like looped into the corner and Scavenger ended up getting hit I think 4 times. He hit Shogun 4 times, and then we kind of figured out, Baze and I, after that, how you could actually do that for the entire fight. But even though we created like an RTA kill, nobody's ever gone for it, although Pika tried for it in his record, so I definitely applaud him for that, because if you do that opposed to the other quick kill, it's probably about 2 seconds faster. But the quick kill with the slashes like that, as he was just doing it, is much, much harder. It is very, very difficult to do that. So in terms of weird stuff in this one, this is kind of like a gauntlet of stages. You see all the foot soldiers here, minus like the bomb guys and the dynamite guys. They don't make an appearance, but otherwise, every single foot soldier is here. On a side note, if you're playing co-op with a buddy, this is one place that you can actually exploit a glitch. You can duplicate the pizza, and the way that you can do that is there's an elevator section later on in this stage where you can line up the turtles both on like the same kind of pixel, the same kind of X and Y axis. And if you and your buddy both walk off at the same time into the pizza, you'll both pick up the pizza. The game kind of gets confused there. That's one of the few glitches in this game, but it's kind of exclusive to co-op only. So in terms of other stuff, there's 2 sets of roadkill Rodneys in terms of the speedrun. They come really late in the stage after the elevator section. They are, again, a tremendous loss of time if you mess them up. But otherwise, it's fairly straightforward, and we can loop and kind of even talk ahead of time, because at the end of this stage, there is a boss called Treg, and Treg is beyond frustrating in terms of strategy. So I have literally made, in the time that I ran this, like 6 different quick kills for Treg. All of them are slower. The best strategy for Treg is if you hide in the corner and you just spam. Like that's it. You don't have to do anything. There's no execution required. You just go in the corner and you spam as much as possible. That's the fastest. Like, it is baffling how this came to be, but at the same time, that's just how the game worked out, I guess. So we can't figure out a better way to kill Treg. If you head down in the corner casually right there, you can avoid all the bowling balls. They don't actually have like an active hitbox down there. And that's the pizza I was talking about if you wanted to duplicate it with your friend. So after this set of enemies, and I think one more set, we'll see those roadkill Rodneys. The way that you kill them, Pika has a slightly different setup than Metal's setup. But you basically get maybe 80% of the screen towards the top, and then you walk down diagonally. So you'll see him kind of like cut down diagonal. And it loops them all together like that, and then you can kill them all in a group. If they start roaming around, it's again a tremendously huge loss of time. So Frank in Krang recently discovered something that was overlooked for like over probably 2 years. So when Krang comes out in the boss animation, he's got like this flexing animation, and he takes like 2 or 3 seconds to flex. You can actually hit Krang out of this animation, and you can also hit Treg out of this animation as well. Nobody realized that the entire time that I ran it, the entire time that other people picked it up. One day Frank was like, I wonder if you can hit him out of there. And see, he did. Good job, Pika. That's literally probably less than maybe like a month old or something. So I would imagine he would probably hit Krang out of his flexing animation too. But nobody realized, like literally nobody realized at the time that you can just cancel him out of that animation. So as I said, fastest way to deal with Treg is spam in the corner. You die, you take intentional death. You just jump back over there and you keep spamming. I've literally made like 5 or 6 quick kills for this guy, and this is the fastest way to deal with him. It is unfortunate, to say the least. Very defeating. So speaking of unfortunate, Krang is next. He is the biggest source of RNG in this entire game, or one of them. You can have Krang fights that are 1 cycle, at least on the Japanese version. It's very hard to do that in the North American version. But you can basically have Krang fights as low as like 42 or 43 seconds, or you can have Krang fights as long as probably about a minute. How often he decides to kick you is completely random. You can sometimes slash him like 5 or 6 times before he kicks you, or Krang can be a jerk like now and basically counter you every single attack. It's very, very random in terms of what he decides to do. Usually, for the most part, you can kill him within 1 life. So as long as you're not... This is actually a pretty rough Krang. The fact that he's basically almost died twice on Krang is... Yeah, this was not a friendly Krang at all. So with Krang out of the way, I'm assuming Pika will do a strat. This was actually my old Strutter kill. I figured out a long time ago that you could loop Strutter in this game, and from that point onward, everybody has always used this kill. I really hope one day that somebody replaces this quick kill. But basically how it works is Strutter splits in 2. The slower Strutter is the real one, the faster Strutter is the fake one. So the real one is on the right side right now, so Pika needs to move over and readjust. but as long as the real one, or sorry, the fake one, starts looping like that, he'll keep shooting, literally. He'll just shoot this ray over and over, and it will loop infinitely until the real Shredder loses his helmet. Yeah, I'm invincible, and then he just runs away and books it. It's actually very true. So I think this fight entails something like 72 or like 74 dive kicks or something like that. It's actually really, really easy to mess this up. Shredder, if you watch him, he'll like randomly do like a really fast short slash. Right now he's not doing it, he's being pretty friendly, but every so often he'll like juke you and he'll like slash in a really weird way. But overall, actually a pretty friendly Shredder right now. So 7 hits, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7, there we go. After the helmet comes off and Shredder dies, so that's time. Whew. And that is Turtles 2. It is a very easy, accessible speed game. I really hope people kind of pick it up if they have any kind of interest in it. US or Japan. Japan! US or Japan. It's a really good speedrun. Very accessible.
Dang, GG, I have 3217 on chat, but on my thing, but I think it's probably even lower than that. Maybe like a 12 or 13. I wasn't exactly sure. I split when you ran to the side. So like maybe like 3212, something like that.
Yeah, that would be fourth place, I think. It's pretty good.
Darn good run. Let me see, since we have a few minutes, let me see if I can get him in here, say a few words. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. But thank you guys for the commentary opportunity. I always love doing commentary.
Alright. Looks like he has chosen not to, but yeah. Thanks, Dave. I can listen to you for days. Like, you're one of my favorite people. I can just listen to you all day. You're just never boring. Thanks so much.
I appreciate it.
We'll see you pretty soon, actually. You're going to be playing Bucky just after the break. Well, soonish.
Yeah, and then I'll be quiet. That's why Kat's going to help me out on that one a little bit. So.
Exactly. So, guys, stick around, and we're going to play a bit of music. I'm going to go over, see if we have any.
All right. Thanks again.
Yep. See ya. All right. So, let's put some music on.